Hi, it's Monday the 9th of June 2025. I've just arrived in the village of Avebury in Wiltshire, and I'm going to spend the next few days walking along the Ridgeway hiking trail. So the Ridgeway hiking trail is about just over 3 miles away from Avebury, but like a lot of people, I've decided to start the walk here for a couple of reasons. It's very easy to get to the village by public transport. There's a regular bus service from Swindon and also from Trowbridge. So I just caught the train to Swindon and stayed in a cheap hotel next to the station, and then next in the morning I've come over to Avebury. And another reason is that there's a lot of prehistoric monuments in this area, and between here and the start of the walk there's quite several which are quite well worth a visit. And Avebury, of course, is famous for the Henge. It's the largest henge in Europe, and a henge, it's a very large circular bank with a ditch running alongside it. And these were built during the Neolithic period, and that was very approximately, that was from between 4000 BC up to 2000 BC. And just within the henge they also built this massive stone circle, and historians believe when they built the stone circle there would have been about 100 of these really huge sarsen stones. And just within the main circle there's 2 smaller circles, so that there's new evidence coming up all the time, and it's believed that originally there was a small rectangular building in the centre of Avebury, and this was about 3200 BC up to about 3000 BC, and people were living in that building, and then they built the 2 smaller stone circles around it. And then around 2500 BC is when they built the rest of the Avebury henge. That's when they built a huge bank and ditch and put this outer stone circle in. I've just put my rucksack down by one of the stones to give an idea of how huge these stones are. So from Avebury I'm heading down West Kennet Avenue, and that West Kennet Avenue, it's a prehistoric route that they built, and it's an avenue of 2 parallel lines of stones. They're about 25 metres wide, and what's existing of the route is about just over, I think it's about 1.5 miles, and it goes down to a site called the Sanctuary. So just going to head down there now. When the ditch was built, it's estimated that it would have been about 9 metres deep and about 14 metres wide. And there is evidence that it may have actually been a moat, because the Avebury, it's very close to the Kennet River, and thousands of years ago the river would have been a lot bigger than what it is nowadays, and so a lot of historians believe that they would have actually used the river to fill up the ditch, so there would have been a large moat going around the stone circle. So it would have looked pretty amazing when they constructed it. So just heading over to the avenue. This is West Kennet Avenue, and this is a route with about, when it was built, they believed there was about 100 pairs of these stones lining the route from Avebury down to the Sanctuary, and it's believed that they built this around 2200 BC. Nowadays there's only about 27 stones still standing, but it still gives a very good idea of how it looked. It must have been a very important route when they built it. It must have been for some religious ceremony. So from here it's a short walk over to Silbury Hill, where I'm going to have a little break. Just approaching Silbury Hill. Now this is a very enigmatic construction because it's totally man-made, and historians don't really know why it was built. They think it was constructed around 2400 BC, over around 150 to 200 years. And it's, at the moment, it's 40 meters high, so obviously when it was built it would have been a lot higher. I thought it was the highest man-made prehistoric hill in Europe, but I was looking at my Komoot app, and there's one in Italy which is a little bit bigger than this one. So I'm just going to go up and have a closer look. I was watching a documentary recently. It's by the TV historian Tony Robinson, and he did a documentary about the Ridgeway, and he had a local historian here looking at Silbury Hill, and the historian thinks that it's possible that this was created over about 150 years. It was because this area, it was a lot of people travelled here because Avebury would have been of quite important significance back in the Neolithic times, and when people travelled here they would bring some soil from their home, from their hometown or their home where they used to live, and they used to place it on this hill as a sort of so part of their home would be near Avebury, which is, it's quite an interesting theory, but it would have been taken like thousands of people to build this, so it's very impressive. So from here I'm heading over to the West Kennet Long Barrow, and then I'll be heading on to the Ridgeway. Just arrived at West Kennet Long Barrow, and this is a very large burial chamber, and it dates back to around 3650 BC, so this would have been built over 500 years before the inner stone circles at Avebury were put in, and it was used as a burial chamber for about 1,000 years, and then around 2000 BC they blocked the front. They put that huge sarsen stone right at the entrance. So just going to have a little sit down and then have a look inside. So from the Barrow it's just a short walk down to, I think it's Uffington Hill, and that's the start of the Ridgeway hiking trail. I've just arrived at the Sanctuary, which is right at the start of the Ridgeway walk. There's not much to see here nowadays, but this was an important monument 4,500 years ago, and it was made up of, there was 2 concentric stone circles and several wooden circles as well, and this was at the end of the West Kennet Avenue, which came down from Avebury. So this would have been a very important religious place 4,500 years ago. And these blocks of concrete mark where all the stone circles would have been. And in the centre would have been a wooden construction where these red posts are. Right, time to head on to the Ridgeway hiking trail. So the Ridgeway is an 87-mile long hiking trail. So from Avebury, it's about a 90-mile walk. And the route follows a large chalk ridge which goes right across the south of England. And the walk finishes at Ivingho Beacon in Buckinghamshire. And this is considered to be the oldest road in Britain, because people have been walking along this route for about 5,000 years, because thousands of years ago much of Britain was covered in forest and very boggy land. So when people wanted to travel, if they needed a trading route, they need some, like the Ridgeway would have been ideal, because it's quite a dry, high up route. So yeah, a very historic route, and there's a lot of historic monuments along the way. I'm just heading up to an Iron Age hill fort. I think it's Barbury Castle. So I'll be having a break up there, and I'm hoping to get some drinking water up there, because the main problem with the first part of the Ridgeway is getting drinking water, because it's following a ridge. There's not many streams. There are a couple of taps along the way, but apart from that, I'll have to be relying on cattle troughs to get water. I've just arrived at Barbury Castle Hill Fort. I'm hoping to find an information board up here with information about the fort. I know the hill forts, they built them in the Iron Age about around 750 BC onwards. But I was looking at my commute app, and this site has been occupied for about 2,500 years. So the Romans were here, and the Saxons were up here as well. And I can see there's two concentric big banks with a big ditch in the middle, so that would have been the defensive banks. So I'm just heading into the centre of the hill fort. Still some very impressive banks and ditches up here on the hill fort, and some nice views as well. I was hoping to get some water here. There's a cattle trough, but unfortunately it's empty. It's not a big problem, because I've still got water, and I'm heading down to Ogbourne St George. It's about 3 miles away, and I can get water there before I carry on. Right, I'm going to head down to the village and then head up to my camping spot for the night. Just stopped at a little wood where I'll be camping tonight. I think it's quite a popular wood, this. I know there's about 2 or 3 YouTube videos, people camping here. I think it's because it's about a day's walk from Avebury, and there's quite a nice view, so it's a good place to stop. But I've just come into the bushes tonight. It's a little bit more out of the way. So I'm using the tarp this week. And this is I'm trying this out. This is the one wind bug net. It's very spacious, be very handy in Scotland with all the midges. And later on tonight, I'm just going to fold the tarp over on this side in case it does rain. Yes, that's a good start to the walk. So tomorrow I just want to get to the tap. There's a couple of water taps along the way. I'm just going to fill up my bottles and then keep going, and then the next day I'll be heading into Goring. So I hope the weather stays dry. So until tomorrow morning, good night. Nice quiet night last night, not very windy, didn't rain. I think the weather forecast today is just going to be a bit grey and cloudy in the morning, and maybe some sunny spells this afternoon. So just going to pack up and continue onwards. Heading down to the bridge that goes over the M4 motorway. I think on a clear day from here you can see Swindon and all the surrounding countryside, but unfortunately it's a bit misty for that this morning. So today I'm going to another Neolithic burial chamber. It's called Wayland's Smithy, so that'll be quite interesting. Between the M4 and Goring, there's 2 water taps along the route, and I think the first one is here, so I'll be stopping for a break just here in a minute. Yes, there's a very useful water tap just here, so I'm just going to fill up my bottle for the next few miles. I think the next water tap is about 6 miles further along, so that's where I'll be filling up my bottles for tonight. Just arrived at Wayland's Smithy. So the name Wayland's Smithy, it's a Saxon name because Wayland was the god of metalworking, and they thought that this was his home. But this is it's a Neolithic tomb. There was one here that there was a wooden one originally. It dates back to 3590 BC, and then they believe that it was rebuilt with this one, and this dates back to about 3460 BC. So huge stones again. I was watching the Tony Robinson video again, his documentary about the Ridgeway, and he said some of these stones can weigh up to about 7 tons. So it's quite an undertaking to build these monuments. Just going to have a look inside. So when this was excavated, it used to contain the remains of 14 people. I've just arrived at Uffington Hill Fort, and this is also where the famous Uffington White Horse is. Although unfortunately I don't think you can see it from up on the ridge. I have to go down into the valley to get a look at it, but there might be some big photographs on an information board here. So according to my Komoot app, the Uffington Hill Fort dates back to between the 8th to 7th centuries BC, and like a Barbury Castle Hill Fort, it's 2 big concentric banks with a big ditch in the middle. Some nice views as well from up here. I'm just going to see if I can see the White Horse from up the top. So this is a picture of the famous White Horse of Uffington in my guidebook. It's just down here, I can't really see it very well from at the top. So historians believe that the White Horse was first put in here between 1400 BC to 600 BC, but no one really knows why they did it. And I know that quite regularly the locals, the people who live here, they come here every so often to renew all the chalk, so it looks quite new and white all the time. I've just arrived at the second water tap, so I'm just going to fill my bottles up here, and then I'm going to do it about another 5 miles or so, and then I'll be looking for somewhere to camp tonight. I'm about 15 miles from Goring now, and I found this nice little quiet wood, which is ideal for spending the night. So I've decided to put the tarp up here. It's nice to stop because I've had to carry loads of water for tonight and tomorrow. But tomorrow's quite a nice, easy walk. So then tomorrow I'm staying in a hotel, which will be quite nice. I think there might be thunderstorms coming, so I'll have to keep an eye out for those. So anyway, until tomorrow morning, good night. Nice, peaceful night in the woods again last night. So today I'm heading up to the Lord Wantage monument, where I hope to get some really nice views. And then from there it's just a gradual descent down to Streetley and the River Thames. Just arrived at the Lord Wantage monument. Unfortunately, there's a lot of low cloud has just rolled in, so I'm not getting much of a view at the moment, but I've got 20 minutes or so for a break. I've got plenty of time today, so I'm just going to have a little rest and see if the cloud clears. But the monument, this is dedicated to Robert Lloyd Lindsay, who was the Lord Wantage, and he was a distinguished soldier and one of the first to be awarded the Victoria Cross in the Crimean War. Oh well, it looks like the mist isn't going to clear for a bit, but I think it's going to stay dry today, so that's quite nice. So from here it's about 12 miles walk or so down to Streetley. Just arrived in Goring. So this afternoon I'm going over to the train station. I'm catching a train over to nearby Reading, where I'm spending a night in a hotel. And then I'll be back here tomorrow morning to continue along the Ridgeway. So today I'm walking about 15 miles. The first part of the walk is a stroll along the River Thames, which should be quite scenic. And then I'll be following an ancient earthwork for a few miles. It's a long bank and a ditch, and it's known as Grim's Ditch. And then after that I'll just be crossing fields over to Watlington, where I'll be staying in a campsite tonight. Just arrived in the village of Southstoke. There's a pub here which dates back to the 17th century. Very pretty little place. I've just left the River Thames. I'm now heading eastwards along the Grim's Ditch. So Grim's Ditch, it's a long earth bank and a ditch. It stretches for about 5 miles and it dates back to the Iron Age. So when they first built it, it would have been probably a lot longer. And it's thought that it was a boundary between two Iron Age kingdoms. And the name Grim's Ditch, it's a Saxon name. It's the Saxons named it after the old Norse word for the devil. They used to call the devil Grim, and it was also a nickname for Odin, the god of war. But despite the rather sombre name of this walk, it's quite a pleasant walk. There should be 2 water taps along this part of the route. I think I'm approaching one now. There's one on the Grim's Ditch route. Then there's another one at the church in Nuffield, which is a little village nearby. Yes, just outside this farmhouse there's a very useful water tap, which is quite handy on a warm day like today. So I'm just going to fill up here. I think at Nuffield Church you can get water as well, but I've only got another 6 miles to go now, so I've got enough to get me to the campsite. And this is the drinking water tap at Nuffield. Just arrived at White Mark Farm camping just outside Watlington. So I've got the tarp set up in a tent style tonight. So tomorrow morning I'm continuing on to Prince's Risborough and I'm going to get some food there, and then I'm going to camp in a wood close to the town. So hoping the weather stays like this tomorrow. So until tomorrow morning, good night. So today I'm doing about a 14 or 15 mile walk. I'm walking to Prince's Risborough, where I'm going to get some food and water. Then just on the other side of the town I'll be heading up to Pulpit Hill, where I'll be camping tonight. I'm heading up to Lodge Hill, where I hope to get some nice views, and then it's all downhill into Prince's Risborough. Nice place for a sit down, nice sweeping views looking over the countryside. So from here it's just about a 3 mile walk down into the town centre. Then after that I think it's about another 2 miles up to where I'm camping tonight. Just arrived in Prince's Risborough, so just going to do a bit of shopping and then head back up into the hills again. Just arrived at the top of Pulpit Hill and I found a nice place to camp tonight. I think I might not bother with the tarp tonight. I've just got the ground sheet down. I think I might just put the air mattress down on the ground sheet tonight, and that might be okay for tonight. But if it starts raining, I'm just going to put the tarp up between these two trees in case there's a thunderstorm tonight. So I'm just going to settle down now, listen to the radio and relax with a can of Red Bull. It's definitely cold cans of Red Bull time of year now. It's not cups of coffee time. So it's going to settle down with a nice cold can, and then tomorrow I think it's Tring. I'm going to Tring, get some more food and water. Then I'm camping on the other side in a big wood, and then the morning after is when I go up to Ivingho Beacon and then get the bus back to the train station. So until tomorrow morning, good night. Quite a nice night in the woods last night. I had to put the bug net up because there's 2 or 3 mosquitoes flying around. So now I'm just going to pack up and continue along the Ridgeway. Right, that's everything packed up, and as they say on all the YouTube wild camping videos, leave no trace. So today, my first landmark, I'm heading up to Coombe Hill and I'm hoping to get some nice views there. Then I'll be heading down into Wendover, and then I'll be heading towards Tring, and then on the other side of Tring I'll be looking for another camping spot before going up to Ivingho Beacon tomorrow morning. Just approaching the top of Coombe Hill. Some really nice views heading up to the top. Lucky with the weather today. So Coombe Hill is 260 metres above sea level, and this is the highest viewpoint in the Chilterns. Right, so time to head off down to Wendover. Just arrived in the centre of Wendover, so I'm just going to go into a cafe for a cup of coffee, and then I'm heading over to Tring, which is about a 6-mile walk from here. There's some nice woodland walks along this part of the Ridgeway, so I'm just heading down into Tring. Just arrived in the centre of Tring, so I've got plenty of time, so I'm just going to go into a coffee shop and have a cup of tea and then get some food and water and then head up towards Ivingho Beacon. Back on the Ridgeway, I'm about 3 or 4 miles from Ivingho Beacon and the end of the Ridgeway walk, but I'm just looking for a nice place to camp for now. And then early tomorrow morning I'll head up to the beacon and down to the train station. I couldn't find any decent camping spots on the way up to the beacon, so I've gone a little bit off route into this wood and I found a fairly decent spot here, so I'll be camping here tonight. Well, I'm just 1.5 miles from Ivingho Beacon now, and then it's a 3.5 mile walk down to Tring train station, so it'll be a very short walk tomorrow. So just going to settle down again and then finish the Ridgeway walk tomorrow. So until tomorrow morning, good night. Going to be another nice day again, I think. So just going to pack up and then head up to the top of the hill and finish the walk. So here I am at the end of the walk and some nice views to finish the walk. There's a bit about Ivingho Beacon on my Commute app and it says, standing at 233 metres, Ivingho Beacon towers over the surrounding countryside, offering views of Buckinghamshire, Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire. It's named after the fires that were once lit at the summit for navigation and communication. Due to the wind blowing up the hill, you'll often see model aircraft enthusiasts engaged in slope soaring when the weather is good. Right, time to head back home and plan my next little walk. So thank you very much for watching my video and I hope to upload another one soon. Bye!